Namaskar and welcome to this exciting new episode of Sattology, Debunking Mythology. Sat means truth, Logos means a study or science, Sattology means a science of truth, a study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means a science of fake lie imagination or study of fake lie imagination. Now, the word mythology has been used primarily against the most documented ancient culture of the world, which is the coming from the Vedas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, and also Puran, because the Western world never try to research, because the moment they research, they're going to debunk themselves. They will find out that their own history has holes in it, and many holes. And one thing is common amongst all the original researchers now coming out of India, other than the mainstream American Indian universities. Now, it is clearly coming out that the history being taught to Indians by their teachers is not accurate. So we are documenting it here. So I have very, very special guest. I know most of you love him now. You know him also very well. Let us welcome Dr. M.L. Raja.
Namaskar. Namaskar.
Namaskar. So last video of this series went really viral on the first part of the debunking the misconceptions. Now, what do you think is why people are coming to this kind of shows? I also try to wonder, since you live in India, and why people are liking it. I mean, what is that? Is the youth getting awake now? Is like they're seeing the light, or they want to search for the truth?
Yes, what you are told, all the reasons are correct. People awakening of the people is much higher now, and especially the youngsters, they want to know the truth of their own motherland, their own ancestors. That intense desire, irresistible intense desire, is within the especially the younger generation of India. They want to know what is their past, exact past, whether it is related to independence movement against British, or even in the past 2500 years or 3000, whatever thing. There is actually euphoria of this Macaulay effect has gone, slowly going out. Instead of that, the proud on their ancestors, on their history, and their nation is slowly building up. You cannot imagine. It will be much, much higher after 5 years. Definitely. All the 2 points or 3 points you are told. The eagerness is increased, and also they want to know the truth. What is truth? Actually, they are behind your name, Sattology. That is the correct thing.
Thank you so much, Dr. Raja. So one of the things also comes in the mind, and after that you can start showing the presentation, is that, I keep saying it, but I want to hear from your own mouth, why knowing our real history is important.
Okay. First of all, I will express why history is important. See, email is invented by Ayatollah from Tamil Nadu. That is only history. When I mentioned it in a class of 7th or 8th students in a Chennai school, I told the second thing. And Ayatollah is from, Shivayatollah is from Tamil Nadu. That was their connection, the Indian children's connection with the Shivayatollah. And another point I told, if Shiva Ayatollah can do it, why can't you do it? Because he is having the same gene, same blood. He is of the same Rishi Kotra. So you are and Shivayatollah up from same gene. They are having same gene, same blood. If Shivayatollah can do it, why can't you do it? So in that way, I linked history with them, and I actually saw how you learn from history, how you can get that courage and also confidence from history. So history is important. See, if you say for a person, your ancestor, your grandfather is such a high personality. He used to guide all the people in our village. like that, and he is dharmic. If you tell to a person, youngster, he immediately worship not only his grandfather, but he want to inculcate all the characters from his grandfather. So like that, if you say that your ancestors are not worthy, what impression he will get, what motivation he got, what this confidence, everything will go down. So in that way, if you learn your history, fortunately, Indian history and Indian ancestors are very highly profiled race. See, they are scientific, not only scientific, they are highly civilized and dharmic, and there existed civilization even lakhs and lakhs of years before present, when other continents are not at all civilized. This nation is highly civilized. A civilized society existed. If they know all these facts, definitely their confidence and will increase, and they will do much, not only to India, entire human race will benefit. So in that way, history is important. To know correct history is more important in that way also.
And also, once you know your real history, your identity is built up. And
Yes,
that
I
gives
do.
you self-confidence because you are aware of yourself. See, that's why in the Western world, even though their history is based on Greek mythology or Roman mythology, but still they are being taught every day. They talk about Noah's Ark. Everybody knows that Noah's Ark is a fictional account. And they found out a small small boat. They call it Noah's Ark. Now, but that's what gives them a sense of superiority over the rest of the people, because the Western academics have taught them that that is the only truth. Others who are not civilized, therefore they don't have the truth. But nobody tells them that even the stories or the fables that they read about the jackal and the cat and the mouse, which they teach in the schools, are all coming from Panchatantra. And originally, and this is confirmed by the German scholars and various historians, in reality. So that's how it is important. So when you hear these Sattology programs, that's the whole goal, is to educate you that the history that we have is much more ancient and is verified history. I mean, Valmiki won't write a fiction, Vyasdev won't write a fiction, even Ganeshji is writing it. And there is a contract between the two that without understanding, Ganesh won't write it. So this is, and also what we are covering, the medieval history, is all facts. And the best example is Marthand Varma, who defeated the Dutch in a straight fight, in the naval fight. So it all shows. So please continue your presentation now.
What you are told, that point is very important, that identity, that you have correctly pointed out. It is actually the history is to make the people to identify themselves. What is their identity? That is the correct thing. Shall I go on presenting?
Please.
Okay,
Please. And also, it also debunks the fake ideologies that we have not attacked anyone, because the others get convinced that you're not going to attack them. They'll continue to attack you then. So please continue. It's a beautiful picture of Ganesh and Vyasdev.
What you are told now, no. Same thing. See, this is Mahabharata thing.
That's right.
Bhagavan Krishna is a Bharata Sarathi and Arjuna is there with Kandiva. So he is narrating this Mahabharata war to Sri Ganesha, and he is writing here.
And okay. Vanakkam is also a very ancient Sanskrit name, also Sanskrit word.
Yeah.
Okay, please go ahead.
Vanakkam, Namaskar. I express my heartfelt thanks to Aditya ji and all the volunteers of Sattology, and also I express my namaskar to all the eminent personalities, students, professors of various universities of United States of America. In this, it will be a part 2 session of distortions and misconceptions in Indian history and chronology. I have already completed part 1. This is a part 2 session. In the part 1, I have detailed about how this equation of Sandropatus into Chandragupta Maurya, how it happened, who, when, and with what motive the distortion in Indian history and chronology was carried out. It is all based on the entirely wrong conjecture of William Jones, equating Sandragotas of Megasthenes of Indica with Chandragupta Maurya Purana. So it led to the fixation of Chandragupta Maurya as a contemporary to Alexander of Macedonia, and thereby fixing the period of Chandragupta Maurya at 321 BCE, though the Purana and entire Indian literature mention it, Chandragupta Maurya became king in the year 1534 BCE. So this wrong conjecture of William Jones reduced the Indian antiquity by 1213 years. William Jones, Colonel Francis Wilford, Horace Hammond Wilson, Frederick Max Mulder, Thomas Babington Macaulay, James Mill, Charles Grant, and Vincent Arthur Smith. They are the important contributors of this cheat anchor. I can definitely say it is a cheat anchor, not a sheet anchor. So that I have completed in the part 1. And entirely this wrong conjecture is based on one text. I have shown that Mudra Rakshasa or coronation of Chandragupta or Brihat Kada, Somadeva's poem, nothing mentioned, not even a single Greek character. So it is all entire basis on only one fragments of Megasthenes, that is Megasthenes Indica. So how much the credibility or worth of that book, Megasthenes Indica, and also other Greek literature, which copied all the thing that they hear that Megasthenes wrote like this, or he mentioned like this. All hearsay accounts were later written by Greek and Roman writers some 200 to 400 years. How this classical Greek literature and this Megasthenes Indica, whether they are worth, whether they are credible, how much they are worth, that we are to see in this part 2. First, Megasthenes Indica. Credibility of these fragments. So Megasthenes Indica is not extant in original. Not only now, even 2000 years before itself, it is not present. It has gone away. It has vanished. So not present. What available? Available only are epitomes or quotations of later Greek and Roman writers who lived some 200 to 400 years later to Megasthenes. And it is available as scattered fragments here and there. And what these later Greek and Roman writers wrote, all hearsay accounts that they heard somebody else, that Megasthenes wrote like this. I got it somewhere else. My grandfather read something. All are unauthenticated thing. So all are hearsay accounts. Based on that hearsay accounts, they added something that Megasthenes wrote like this in their accounts. So no accuracy can be expected from these accounts. That is the actual fact. The third thing, not even we don't know in what letters, what script Megasthenes wrote all these things, whether Attic or Ionic, we don't know. Then how it is all collected? Dr. Swanbeck of Bern in Germany in the year 1846, that is 1800 years later to these Greek and Romanian writers who wrote all these hearsay accounts in some fragments. He collected all these fragments, what are all available to him, and assembled these fragments, and he only gave the title as Megasthenes Indica. Megasthenes have not given the title, even the Greek or Roman writers, they have not given the title. Only in the year 1846, the title of the book itself came, that is Megasthenes Indica. All these pages I have quoted are present, you can verify, in the book Ancient India as described by Megasthenes and Arrian. It is all the fragments collected by Dr. Swanbeck in the year 1846, and all these fragments were rendered English by John W. McCrindle, and it was first publication London 1877, and now it is even in India, it is available from Munshi Manohar Publishers. We can buy it, or we can even sometimes I can think it is downloadable. You can verify all these facts at these pages in this book. That is Ancient India as described by Megasthenes and Aryan. Wherever I have mentioned page number, without mentioning the text, then that page number definitely means this text only. Ancient India as described by Megasthenes and Aryan. This book only I have given without quoting the text. Other texts I will quote, mention what is the text. So we get to understand that one. And what the Greek and Roman writers' opinion on Megasthenes Indica or the other writings of other Greek writers. What is their opinion? That we should know. Strabo, he is a Greek geographer, philosopher, and historian who lived 2000 years before present. What he mentioned about all these things, generally speaking, it is exactly verbatim I am giving. I am not adding any word or deleting any word. Generally speaking, the men who have hitherto written on the affairs of India were a set of liars. And he further wrote, Diamachus holds first place in the list and Megasthenes come next. Unfortunately, this Megasthenes writings, what Strabo called is a set of lie, become the authentic historic text of India, and it becomes the seat anchor of the history and chronology of India. We are very unfortunate. And further he mentioned, no faith whatever can be placed in Diamachus and Megasthenes. Who these people are there, Diamachus and Megasthenes? He mentioned no faith should be placed on Megasthenes or Diamachus, right? So that is his comment, Strabo. Even a Greek person who lived 2000 years before, who hearsay or read some accounts of Megasthenes, after reading, he himself told they are all a set of liars and no faith we can place on them. And Megasthenes was sent to Sandrocotus and Diamachus to Amitrochedus, that is Sandrocotus' son. This is Strabo's writing. These pages definitely mean Aryans, the Ancient India as described by Megasthenes and Aryan by John McCrindle, English translation. And another person, a Roman author, Plinius, or we can call it Pliny. What he wrote about all these Megasthenes and other Greek writings, it is not, here also I am giving verbatim. It is not, however, worthwhile to study their accounts with care. They are not worth. So conflicting are they, contradicting each other. And the most important word, incredible. That is what Pliny mentioned on these writings of Megasthenes and other Greek writings. You can refer in the page number 20 of this book. Are Naturalis Historia in the 6th volume, this 21 Adhyaya, 3rd chapter you can see. 21 chapter and 3rd paragraph you can see. So this is the opinion of Strabo and Pliny on these Greek writers' writings, especially Megasthenes. Why they have told all this? What is the reason behind for telling all these things openly by Strabo and Pliny? Because in Megasthenes' writing, in these fragments, he mentioned all these things. Men with large ears touching the feet and are large enough to a man to sleep in. Ears are touching the feet itself, that much large ear men have. Men without any mouths, living by inhaling air only. He wrote that if they inhale bad air, they will die immediately. That he wrote. Men without noses, men with only one eye, men with spider legs, men with fingers, that is toes pointing backward, men with 8 toes in each feet, men with ears of dogs, dog ears, men with dog heads, and men who cannot speak but only bark like dogs. All these things are there in Megasthenes Indica. In what pages? In these pages of that book, Ancient India as described by Megasthenes and Aryan, John McCrindle. English translation of the Swanbuck's fragments of Megasthenes. Further, he mentioned gold digging ants. Ants are digging gold, but they are of fox size. Flying snakes, scorpion with wings, horse and animals with single horn. These are all present in the text. Anybody can go and verify whether I am telling correct or not. These are all the pages. You can buy the book or download. You can verify. All these things are there. And further, another Greek person, Eratosthenes, he mentioned this Megasthenes and Dimachus accused each other. What? Of falsehood. He wrote something wrong, entire false. That is the opinion of Dimachus, and Megasthenes told the same thing on Dimachus. So that is the level. And further, you will be astonished if you know this. This is given in the page 224 of that book, McCrindle book. Arian mentioned, he wrote. It is based on Megasthenes. The dress of the Indians is made of cotton. And Nearchus, who is a Greek person who accompanied Alexander, tells us cotton produced from trees. Cotton is from trees, not from plant. And thus cotton is used for dress, making dress. How much worth, how much credible is the writing? We ourselves can judge. Whether these texts are worth to call as history texts and whether it is the text that become the base of Indian history and chronology. Megasthenes writing. Based on Megasthenes writing, only Arian wrote. It is the reality of the text, actuality of the text. How can we read it as a text? We can treat it as a fable or some storybook. That's all. Their worthiness is only a storybook. But it became the authentic text, and based on that only the sheet anchor of India is decided. And there are unanswerable and unjustifiable controversies in these Greek writings. That is, if we go with William Jones' conjecture that Sandracotus is Chandragupta Maurya and Megasthenes came to India during Chandragupta Maurya rule and met Chandragupta Maurya many times and stayed in his capital for some time. If it is so, why Megasthenes not even one time, even a single time mentioned the very famous guru of Chandragupta Maurya, who has all powers rested with him, the most authoritative and highly powerful personality in the entire kingdom of Chandragupta Maurya, and who only crowned Chandragupta Maurya as the king after ousting the powerful and strong Nanda from power. That is Chanakya or Kaudilya. Megasthenes not even one time mentioned Chanakya or Kaudilya. Actually, Chanakya is only ruling. Chandragupta Maurya may be king. He is the authoritative person. But if Megasthenes came during the period of Chandragupta Maurya, he would have definitely known that Chanakya is ruling. Not even one single time, one single place, Megasthenes mentioned Chanakya. And Megasthenes mentioned in this page that Kushumapura, that is Padalipura Putra, was founded by Heracles. But from Purana, especially Brahmanda and Vayu Purana, what it mentioned, that Kushumapura was founded by King Udaya, the grandson of Ajadasatra of Sishanaga dynasty. So it is entirely wrong. And third thing is civil administration. In Megasthenes Indica, you can see that city administration was carried out in democratic form. That is, democratically elected officers only carried out the city administration, as per Megasthenes Indica. But what about Kaudilya's Arthashastra? Because Kaudilya was the prime minister and completely controlling the kingdom of Chandragupta Maurya. He mentioned the king appoints Nagarika, Sthanika and Gopa. Nagarika is for Nagar and Gopa for village. So it is not democratically elected, but king only appoints the civil administrative officers. So both are entirely opposite and contradictory. That we should understand. And city description. Megasthenes wrote that Padaliputra, there are wooden structures are there, and the construction is not on brick. Megasthenes wrote. But Arthashastra of Kautilya mentioned cities had fortification, stone and brick structure. So this is also the construction of the cities and houses and this fort, everything is different. And it's coming to slaves and servants. Megasthenes and Aryan mentioned in India there are not even a single slave. Even a foreigner is treated with respect. There is no slave in India. But Arthashastra of Kautilya, he didn't mention slaves, but he mentioned one word dasa. Dasa is actually denotes servants. We cannot take it as slaves. And were there, dasa were there, who do domestic work and other work. And the rules and regulations for them were written. And the most important thing is how they calculated the period of Alexander of Macedonia from 356 to 323 BCE. And he was a king of Macedonia only for just 13 years, from 336 to 323 BCE. Even deviating my topic, I can say that he has not done a single development or favor to the people of Macedonia. During the entire kingship of this Alexander, during this period, he massacred people, not only foreigner, even the Greek, even the Macedonia, Senapati and other generals, army generals. Many army persons of Macedonia were massacred by Alexander. He has completely lost. He has not given importance to the development of Macedonia. Instead, he go on fighting, killing people. How can we call him as a great? How they fixed the period of Alexander to this? You can see, before 46 BCE, the calendar system of Greek and Rome was very much defective. That's why in the year 46 BCE, Julius Caesar did some correction. That's why the Julian calendar is followed. And the number of days for 46 BCE is 445 days. That is 80 days more than 365 days. So that the accumulated wrong calendar would have corrected. So they themselves in 46 BCE accepted that previous calendar system is defective. That's why they do some correction. So in 46 BCE, if it is defective, then this period definitely is a defective. So how can with a defective calendar, they fixed the Alexander of Macedonia period? So that is also entirely different. And from 500 Common Era to 1500 Common Era, the Europe went into dark period. Then come Gregorian, who corrected the calendar in the year 1582. And 10 days were dropped. That is Thursday, 4th October 1582 was followed by Friday, 15th October 1582. Even Julius Caesar's correction, that also is not complete. There are some inherent defect in that. So in between how many times they changed, we don't know any data. So it is based on defective calendar. So we cannot accept as an accurate date for Alexander of Macedonia. So that itself is questionable. For example, you can see a book, A History of England, a famous book written by John Thorne and also Roger Lockyer and David Smith. Initially published by England Library Education in 1963. Now, Indian edition is available. I am having that book. In that, at the pages 35-36, what they detailed that the history of England before 8th century, that is 1200 years before, is totally unknown. They themselves accepted. And in the 36th page, they mentioned, these authors mentioned, I am giving verbatim, the Anglo-Saxons never decided on what day of what month a year actually began. Say they don't know, even in the 8th century, that is 1200 years before, when the year, on what day, what month, year began. That is their condition 1200 years before. Then these authors not only told Anglo-Saxons, they also like most men of their time, that is Europeans. So that is the condition of Europeans even 1200 years before. Then how they would have derived the Alexander of Macedonia date at this period, that itself is questionable. And another thing is, Megasthenes and other Greek writers wrote 5 names. One is Xandrams or Agrams, and another one is Sandrocotus or Androcotus. Third one is Alitrochedus and Amitrochedus. They mentioned Xandrams is the previous king of Sandrocotus, and Alitrochedus or Amitrochedus is the son of Sandrocotus, next king. These are all 3 kings' name. And 2 place name, that is only Polybothra or Polymbothra and Prasi kingdom. These are all the 5 important things they mentioned. Based on that only, William Jones did his conjecture of equating Sandrocotus into Chandragupta Maurya. How these names, whether they are coherent or incoherent, that we got to see. Curtius mentioned this previous king's names as Agrams. Other Greek writers mentioned Xandrams. So this is very much controversy there between Curtius and other Greek writers. But both name Agrams and Xandrams are not at all related phonetically either to Mahabhatmananda or Dhanananda, the previous ruler of Chandragupta Maurya. So definitely Sandrocotus will not be Chandragupta Maurya. And there is a slight resemblance is there with Sandrashri, who is father of Pulomasri III, that last king of Andhra Sadhavagana kingdom. He is a young boy. Both were the previous kings of Chandragupta I of Gupta dynasty. Xandrams may be Sandrashri, that somewhat resemblance, but not completely. And Strabo mentioned Alitrochedus as the next king's name, that is Sandrocotus' son. Athenaios mentioned him as Amitrochedes. Here also there is name difference. This is Alitro, this is Amitro. So they don't know what is exact name. But both are entirely different phonetically from the name of the next king, Bindusara. Next king, Chandragupta Maurya, is Bindusara, his son. He was mentioned in Purana as Bindusara or Bhadrasara or Varisara. But this is entirely not matching phonetically with Bindusara, Alitrochedus or Amitrochedus. It is also not matching phonetically with Samudragupta, the son of Chandragupta I of Gupta dynasty. So both are not matching. And coming to Sandrocotus' name, Megasthenes and other Greek writers note his name as Sandrocotus or Sandrocotus. Plutarch mentioned as Androcotus. So we can see how Cotus or Cotus denote Gupta. That we have to understand. K may be changed to G, but P pronunciation in Gupta is absent. Here there is no, in Kotos or Kotos, there is no P. And S is added in the last. So it is entirely different from Gupta. Sandro maybe we can say at least Sandra. That is very difficult. Even then, if we accept this Kotos into Gupta, we cannot accept. So phonetically entirely different. So that is also not matching. Then coming to Prasi, this is what they told, it is Sandrocotus' kingdom with Polymbothra as the capital. But this Prasi does not resemble phonetically either with Magadha kingdom or Maurya dynasty. Chandragupta ruled Magadha kingdom and he belonged to Maurya dynasty. It doesn't phonetically resembles to either Magadha or Maurya. So that is also not resembling. However, it was conjectured what these people, Greek and their supporters wrote, Prasi means east in Sanskrit, hence it means Magadha Empire, because Magadha is east to Sindhu river. So like that, we can say Magadha is an eastern kingdom. So these people, Greek writers, mentioned Magadha Empire as Prasi. So it is connected to Magadha. Like that, they are arguing. But if we look from Sindhu river, all kingdoms situated east, all the kingdoms of Bharat are situated east only. Hence, it can denote any country situated east of Sindhu. Further, if we take whole India as a one, we can name Assam as the eastern province. Ancient Indian texts named Assam as Prag Jyotisha. Prague means east. So this explanation doesn't hold good. Further, Ptolemy, as detailed in text Ancient India as described by Ptolemy, rendered English by John McCrindle, And the classical accounts of India, written by Dr. R.C. Majumdar, who was the ex-vice chancellor of Dhaka University, the authoritative history expert of recent history of India. In his book, he mentioned a country by name Purvarai, meaning Eastern Kingdom of Paurava, and it is now identified as the present-day Rajasthan. So it doesn't mean Eastern country as Magadha, but there is another Eastern country that is denoted the present day, denoting present-day Rajasthan. So this also gives a great jolt to them. And location of Palibotra, the fifth name, or Palimbotra. Sometimes they write Palibotra, sometimes they write Palimbotra. There is no consensus or uniformity. That itself shows their inefficiency. Megasthenes in the fragment 26 given at page 67, that is ancient India as described by Megasthenes and Ariam, John McCrindle. In that he mentioned the greatest city of India, Palimbotra, in the domains of Prasi, that is Prasi kingdom, where the streams of Yeronabayas and Ganges unite, where the Yeronabayas river and Ganga river unite. At that place, Palimbotra is situated, and it is the capital of Prasi kingdom. That is what Megasthenes mentioned in this fragment, and it is given in the page 67. And further, he mentioned that Yeronabayas, perhaps the third largest Indian river. Of all the Indian river, Yeronabayas is the third largest, after Ganga and Sindhu. That is his statement at fragment 26. But at the fragment 56, given at the page 142, in the same book, the river Jomanus flows through the Palibotri into Ganges between the towns Methora and Karisobora. So here mentioned that Palimbotra is the capital of Praesian and where the streams of Yeronabayas and Ganga unite. Here he mentioned that Jomanus flows through Palibotra into Ganges. Maybe Jomanus situated either at the banks of Palibotra or Palibotra situated at the place where Ganga and Jomanus unite. If you want to make both statements correct, then you have to accept that Palibotra was situated at, that is in Allahabad. Now, Allahabad, Prayagraj. And Yeronabayas means Yamuna. So another name for Jamuna is Yeronabayas. If you accept that, the both statements become correct. But these people are not accepting. They are saying Yeronabayas is Swan river and it is Palibotra is Padaliputra. So either one of the statements should be correct as per their assumption and conjecture. So this was Megasthenes write one statement wrongly. That is the thing we can come to a conclusion from this. And Alexander Cunningham thought Karisobora might be Brindavan, 25 kilometers of north of Methora. This Methora is Mathura and Karisobora, as per Alexander Cunningham, it is Brindavan. How he derives Kalika Varta, that is Kalika, that snake which resides in the water of Yamuna, and only Kalinga Nartana Krishna Govardhana has done. So Kalika's whirlpool, and it become Kalika's whirlpool, Kalika Varta become Kalika Varta and Karisobora. Like that, Alexander Cunningham suggesting, he is assuming. But definitely both statements are contradicting each other. If they won't contradict, it means that Palibotra is situated at Allahabad or Prayagraj, then definitely Sandrakutas doesn't mean Chandragupta, Maurya. That is the thing. Either this way they got to accept or that way they got to accept. Both they cannot accept. And McCrindle here quoted ancient India as described by Ptolemy, another book. In that Pliny on explaining the river Dayamuna, another name for Yamuna is Dayamuna. That Pliny mentioned it is Jomanus, exactly as mentioned by Megasthenes in fragment 52, and states that it flows into Ganges through Palibotri. Exactly what Megasthenes mentioned in the fragment 26, it was written by Pliny. So, two statements. So, it may be more correct between the towns Methora and Karisobora. He mentioned it is a Krishnapura. Maybe which town we don't know, but Mathura may be Mathura. That we can definitely say. So Aryan mentioned Jomenes. He also mentioned Jomenes as Jobres. It is given in the page 191 of Mackerendale book of Megasthenes and Aryan. Thus, from these things, what we can infer and we can accept that it was a place on the banks of river Yamuna, nearer to Mathura in Uttar Pradesh state, or at Prayagraj at the confluence of Yamuna or Ganga. Previous name Prayagraj is Allahabad. And further, it fits well with the statement of Megasthenes that the Arunabhayas is the third largest river. Yamuna is the third largest river of India after Ganga and Sindhu. So it fits more correctly. But if they accept that Palibotra is situated at the bank of Yamuna or at the confluence of Ganga and Yamuna, definitely it is not Padaliputra. So Megasthenes didn't went to Padaliputra. That means Sandrakotas is not Samudragupta Maurya. That means Chandragupta Maurya and Alexander were not contemporary. So here, whole conjecture will fall down immediately. So they want to support. Somehow they want to prove that they are correct. So they told that Arunabhayas might be river Son or river Gandaki. Because Padaliputra is at the confluence of Gandaki and Ganga river. And Son river merges with Ganga. Gandaki river from Himalaya and Son river from Vindhya mountain. It comes joins on the western bank, southern bank of Ganga, and Gandaki join on the northern bank of Ganga. So Son joins with Ganga some 30 to 40 kilometers west of Patna. So if we take Arunabhayas either river Son or river Gandaki, we can easily argue that Paliputra of Megasthenes is Padaliputra of Magadha and the capital of Chandragupta Maurya. So we can say Sandrakotas is Chandragupta Maurya and his period is 321 BC. But neither river Son nor Gandaki river is the third largest river of India. Neither Son nor Gandaki river's name is phonetically similar to Arunabhayas. So that is another point. So two contradictions are there. And another contradiction is, if we take Son river merges with Ganga at Patna exactly in olden days. Now 30-40 kilometers west of Patna, maybe the river bed would have changed. So in the olden days, Son river merged with Ganga exactly at Patna or Padaliputra. Then at Patna, Gandaki and Son river merge with Ganga. Then means there are three river merging, that is Triveni Sangamam. But Megasthenes mentioned it is only a confluence of two rivers. So another contradiction for that. But again, they want to leave, don't want to leave the accept the defeat. So they argued again. The other name of Son was Hiranyavaha or Hiranyabahu. Hiranya and Son mean gold or sometimes red color. So Yara in Greek may be red. So Arunabhayas may mean Son river only. Again, they are arguing. This also faces problem because Megasthenes himself, in narrating rivers of India, mentioned Arunabhayas and Sonas as two different tributary rivers of Ganga. Page 62, fragment 20b. So he mentioned Arunabhayas and Son as a different two tributaries of Ganga. So that means Arunabhayas is not at all Son river. So their argument in that way also gone. And Aryan also mentioned in the same way, as found in the page number 191. Ancient India as described by Megasthenes, John Mackerendale. So that is also in those two places, even Aryan and Megasthenes opposed their conjecture that Son is Hiranyabahu or Hiranyavaha and it is Arunabhayas. So that also gone. And Ptolemy wrote in Claudius Ptolemy, the Geography, translated by Edward Luther Stevenson, Dover Publications, New York. It is available. English translation of Claudius Ptolemy by Edward Luther Stevenson, published in the year 1932. And also, this was translated into English by John Mackerendale, Ancient India as described by Ptolemy, available in India with Munshi Ram Manohar Lal Publishers. I am having all these books. So, I have verified the facts and then only I am giving all the facts. At page 151 of Edward or 100 of Mackerendale, it mentioned river Son with the origin of Vindhyas mountain and river Yamuna has two separate rivers, both as tributaries of Ganga river. So this shows Son is a different river, Yamuna is a different river. Son cannot be called as Aronabeus because Megasthenes and Aryan mentioned Son as a different river from Aronabeus. He gave Aronabeus and Son as two different rivers. But Megasthenes or Aryan, any person, he didn't give Yamuna and Aronabeus as two separate rivers. They can say mention river Son and river Yamuna as two separate rivers. So Aronabeus may mean river Yamuna. That is the inference we got. Mackerendale mentioned that the river Sonus, that is river Son, and it is described in detail at page 99, and the river Aronabeus as two separate rivers. Mackerendale also mentioned quoting Aryan in the page 97 in the ancient India as described with Ptolemy. In that book, quoting Aryan, Mackerendale himself mentioned that Son and Aronabeus as two separate rivers. So they cannot argue Aronabeus means Son river. So that is also gone. And the same way, Lassen, he argues that Buddhist name of Kandaki river was Hiranyavati. So it may mean Aronabeus. It is this argument is given in the ancient India as described by Megasthenes and Aryan, Mackerendale, 192 pages. However, the Kandaki river is a very small river and it cannot be mentioned as the third largest river of India. So that is also, that argument also have no foot to hold. So Ptolemy wrote that Palimbotra, the royal residence, another jolt is given by Ptolemy himself. Mentioned that Palimbotra, the royal residence of the kingdom of Mandalay. These people told, Megasthenes and other Greek writers told, Palimbotra was the capital of Prasi kingdom. But Ptolemy mentioned Palimbotra is the capital of kingdom Mandalay. Where is Mandalay situated? It is towards the river of Ganga and the kingdom Mandalay, as per Ptolemy's writing, it is an upland region where river Son and river Narmada have their origins. That is in Madhya Pradesh state, 80 kilometers southeast of Jabalpur. So Palibotra might be situated in these highlands or north to on the bank of Ganga, but definitely not the capital of Prasi kingdom, as mentioned by Megasthenes and other Greek writers. Ptolemy totally contradicts that. He mentioned Palibotra is the capital of kingdom Mandalay. And the kingdom Mandalay is west of, Prasi is west of King Mandalay. He also give in the same page 152 or 131 to 133, Prasi kingdom is a separate kingdom. It is west of kingdom Mandalay, whose capital is Palibotra, and Ptolemy listed the name of cities of Prasi kingdom. Palibotra is consciously absent in the names of list of cities of Prasi kingdom, but it was mentioned as the capital of kingdom Mandalay. So it is a great jolt to their argument that Palibotra was the capital of Prasi kingdom. So this totally contradicts Megasthenes and other Greek writers' statement that Palibotra was the capital of Prasi kingdom. So their base is totally out. Now they cannot argue Sandropatis Chandragupta Maurya. Adding further surprise, Ptolemy mentioned at page 153 Edward or 164 Mackerendale a kingdom by name Purvara, meaning Eastern Kingdom, identified as the present day Rajasthan. So Prasi can also mean that. They cannot mean Prasi as East, so it denotes Magadha Kingdom. There is another kingdom with the name East, and it is identified with Rajasthan. So Dr. R.C. Majumdar in his book, The Classical Accounts of India, gave all these two details exactly in the pages these things. Hence, Prasi with the Sanskrit meaning of East and thereby denoting Magadha Kingdom does not have any base and it should not be accepted. Yes, any country east of Sindhu can be called Eastern country. And we take India as a whole, exactly Assam only can be called as Eastern country. In the ancient days, the name of Assam is Prag Jyotisa. Prag means East in Sanskrit. So eastern country means Assam only, not Magadha or any other country. So this gives a great jolt and damage to the argument that Palimbotra was the capital of Prasi and Prasi means east and thus it denotes Magadha kingdom, which is situated east to Sindhu river. So it is totally become baseless. Why they argued like that? Because they have to justify that Prasi is denoting Magadha or Maurya kingdom, and then only they can say that it was Chandragupta Maurya. Why they have to argue? Because Prasi does not resemble phonetically either with Magadha kingdom ruled by Chandragupta Maurya or the Maurya dynasty to which Chandragupta Maurya belongs. So that's why they are giving support to their argument. But that support itself is baseless. However, for a peasant standing Sindhu river, Purvarai is mentioned by Ptolemy denoting Rajasthan, fits more, and Magadha kingdom, it doesn't mean Magadha kingdom, which is situated much far away. It is further corroborated by another Greek writer, Appianus. It is mentioned in the book, Mackerendale book on Megasthenes, at the page 9 footnotes. Appianus mentioned that Sandracotus was the king of Indians around river Indus. So this Sandracotus ruled a area adjacent to, that is east to river Sindhu. So it is totally made their argument that Paliputra is the capital of Magadha and Chandragupta Maurya was denoted by Sandracotus. So it totally gone. So, but in this Megasthenes mentioned many rivers. How can you give some support to that? He has mentioned that Paliputra is situated on the Ganges bank. But now we are telling close to river Indus. How we have to explain that? Because Strabo mentioned in that, in this page, 2 footnotes of the ancient India as described by Megasthenes, John Mackerendale. Strabo mentioned that Alexander himself, on reaching the river Sindhu, Indus, he mistook river Indus for river Nile of Egypt. That is their geographical knowledge of Alexander and Megasthenes. So they did a lot of mistakes. They would have identified any small river as Ganga. That is the thing we can accept. We can give explanations. And other Greek writers on the location of Paliputra. It is all given in this book to footnotes in the pages. Pliny and D. Anville mentioned river Jomunas flow through Paliputra into Ganges, and hence Paliputra site is at Allahabad, at Prayagraj. Renal mentioned it may be identical with Kanauj. Wilford placed it on the left bank of Ganges at some distance north of Rajmahal. Franklin at Bhagalpur. Already Megasthenes and other people have confused a lot. Now these 5 people confused further. So at that time we can recollect on childhood story. An elephant explained by 7 blind persons on touching its various parts. In our school days, we would have read that story. An elephant was examined by blind person by touching various parts of the elephant. They are describing the elephant in different way. In the same way, because they don't know the geography and history of India, all these Greek writers mentioned the location of Paliputra differently because they don't know the actual fact. That is the thing. For example, this picture shows, the map shows, the location of Paliputra as per the opinion of different Greek writers. That is from east here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 places. Not only from east to west, all these places were given by various Greek writers as the location of Paliputra. How can we accept it is their writings as a historical fact? That we have to decide. And another thing is, Dr. Swanberg quoted the writings of Justinus. Justinus is another person, Greek, who came with Alexander. He mentioned that no one had entered India except Semiramis and Alexander. So this is his opinion of Justinus. But Arian wrote that Megasthenes did not travel over much of India, but yet more than those who invaded along with Alexander. And so, exactly contradicting statement. Justin told only Alexander reached more into India, but Arian wrote that Megasthenes reached much place than Alexander. And Megasthenes wrote that Hypanis, that is maybe Sutlej or Bias river, was the limit of Alexander's march. So beyond that, Alexander didn't enter into India. Arian wrote that the river Indus was seen by Alexander and many of the Greeks, and they mistook it for Nile. But in an eastern direction, Alexander did not penetrate beyond river Indus. The progress of Alexander was arrested by river Hypasis, that is Bias or Sutlej river. I am unable to give with assurance of being accurate of any information regarding the regions beyond Hypasis. That is the region of India beyond this Bias or Sutlej river. Arian or any other Greek writer could not give accurate information. That is with the self acceptance of their ignorance. So beyond the limit of river Hypasis, we have no real knowledge of the country, that is India. Arian accepted all these things. So we should know how much it is reliable, credible, worth of reading all this Greek literature on India. And another major thing is, it is Dionysius, a king, maybe Greek king. Quoting Megasthenes, Arian wrote, Indians were in older times nomadic. You see, you have to know at least all these things, how these Greek writers have wrote about our ancient forefathers. Indian had neither towns nor temples of gods, but were so barbarous. We are barbarous when ancient period. That was written by Megasthenes. That they wore skin of wild animals. Yes, they could kill them and subsisted on the bark of trees. These are all given in these pages. Megasthenes and Arian by John McCrindle. Dionysius came and conquered India, founded cities, introduced the use of vines, taught Indians to sow the land, himself supplying the seeds. Dionysius first yoked oxen to the plough and make many Indians as husbandmen from nomads. He introduced agriculture, and Indians started worshipping gods, including Dionysius as the important god. And what he mentioned, Dionysius to Sandrocotus was 153 generations, and it is of 6,042 years. Dionysius was 15 generations earlier than Heracles. This is the information what Megasthenes give about Dionysius. You got to note 153 generations, 6,042 years, as per Megasthenes in this page. In the next page, what he has written, Megasthenes, he wrote that Dionysius made his appearance coming from the region lying west at the head of considerable army. He overrun the whole India, taught Indians how to make wine, arts, founder of many cities. Nyasa was founded by him, and showed the people how to worship the deity, introduced law and justice, and Dionysius was worshipped by Indians as a deity. And in the next, these pages, in the page 116, what he mentioned, Megasthenes wrote, Father Bacchus was the first who invaded India and triumphed over the vanquished Indians. Bacchus to Alexander is 6,451 years and 153 kings. Here mentioned 153 kings, 6,042 years. Here mentioned same 153 kings, but 6,451 years. 409 years different. Same 153 kings, how he can extend 400 years? How can we accept it is a reliable text? Arian, what he told about this Dionysius in the page number 184. These stories about Dionysius are, of course, but fictions of the poet. But we are reading it as a history. That is the fate of this nation. And he mentioned, Megasthenes mentioned that Dionysus introduced agriculture, farming in India, that is 8,384th year before present. That is 6,442 for 153 generations, and 321 is the period what they allotted to Alexander, or 323, and 2021 years now, Christian era, common era. So 8,384, or you can say 8,387th year. But archaeological excavation now carried out Mehrgarh, that is in Saraswati Sindhu civilization. Mehrgarh is near in Pakistan. It shows that 9,500 years before present itself, barley and wheat were cultivated here. So it is 8,400 years, but 9,500 years before itself, there is cultivation in India. Barley was well developed, and also bread, wheat type, 4 types of wheat were cultivated. So this totally disproved the Greek fiction writings of falsehood as the story of Dionysus, as correctly mentioned by Arian. And we cannot accept that we got civilization only 8,400 years before. Ramayana is there, Vedic period is there. India was much civilized country lakhs and lakhs of years before present. Indian ancestors were much civilized in the remotest antiquity itself. And India is the foremost highly civilized nation in the entire world. So that we should understand. And the controversies between various Greek accounts, I will go fast. So you can see rulers of North India, Critias single, Plutarch's many kings. Strength of military of Indian kings, different opinions between Diodorus and Critias, and Plutarch and Pliny. Payment of tax, Strabo and Diodorus differ much. And massacre of prisoners of Vespasian city, Greek soldiers slew all prisoners, as per Arian. Critias mentioned Alexander only massacred all the inhabitants. And attack on Masaga and Avernus, first Alexander attacked Nyasa, and then only he go to Masaga and Avernus, as per Critias. But Arian, first Masaga, then Avernus, lastly only Nyasa. And movable towers in Masaga, Critias played a major role. Arian not at all mentioned that. Massacre of Indian soldiers at Masaga, Alexander treacherously murdered all the Indian soldiers. But what Arian, as per Diodorus, Arian mentioned Masaga soldiers were treacherous. Nyasa people's resistance, Arian and Justin, there is no resistance. But Critias gave much resistance by Nyasa people. Crossing of Hypaspes river by Greek, Critias no two crossings, but Arian mentioned it is 2 crossings, because Critias was ignorant of the locality. And war with Porus, that is important thing. Aristobulus mentioned Alexander was opposed by son of Porus. Ptolemy mentioned son of Porus opposed Alexander with 2,000 cavalry and 120 chariots. What Critias and Plutarch mentioned, brother of Porus only opposed. Here son, here brother. The number also varied. And the death of Busipelas, the horse of Alexander, Arian mentioned it is a natural death. Strabo mentioned it is due to wound during the war with the Porus. What with Meloe, Alexander was severely wounded, but Alexander alone leapt from the wall into the citadel. But Diodorus and Arian differs. So all these differences are there, controversies are there between the various Greek writers on Alexander's coming to India. That is the thing. And Greek writers differ among themselves. War with Avernus, fight and strategy were given differently by Arian, Critias and Diodorus. The distance between various places given by Pliny, as recorded by Mackerendale and another author, wide divergences are there. This shows there may be due to tampering of the text at a later period. All these differences, controversies, and these 2 things were exactly detailed by the great historian, Dr. R.C. Majumdar, in his book, The Classical Accounts of India, the Greek and Roman accounts of ancient India, published by Firma KLM Publications in the year 1981. If you want to verify, he has given with evidence. So This is the thing, their worthiness of the Greek classical writings. Strabo mentioned that Alexander himself, on reaching the Indus, mistook it for Nile. Why? Because Greece has no larger rivers. There are only streams are there. It is a mountainous country. That too, Macedonia is a very small area where Alexander came. Area of Greece is 1,31,957 square kilometer only, equal to the Chhattisgarh state of India, which is only 4.11% of India. And Chhattisgarh state has 30 million population now, whereas Greece as a whole has 10.7 million only. Macedonia in the past heard or seen river Nile only. That's why they took Sindhu as river Nile and had a very trivial knowledge of the world, especially India. Keeping all these facts in our mind, then only we should approach Greek accounts of India. Then only we can understand the truth. And now, final part, the distortions proved evidently how they are started distorting things, because they know that they are standing on a very trivial base. Their entire building is constructed of playing cards. So they want to give support to that. Marcus Junianus Justinus, he is a Roman historian, wrote in his Historiarium Philippicarum, which was translated by Reverend John Selby Watson in the year 1853. In the 15th book, 4th chapter, what Justinus mentioned about Sandrocotus, for when by his insolent behavior, Sandrocotus had offended Alexandrum and was ordered by the king to put to death, he sought safety by a speedy flight. That was the thing written by Justinus. It was given exactly in the H.S. Wilson's writing, that is Select Specimens of Theatre of Hindus. Last time I was shown, volume 3. And also Frederick Max Muller in the book A History of Ancient Sanskrit Literature in this year, 1827, 1860, 1853. It clearly mentioned that offended Alexandrum. Sandrocotus offended Alexandrum. But what happened later? There is an unfair, unjustifiable, and unscholarly alteration. The invasion of India by Alexander the Great, as described by Arrian, Curtius, Plutarch, Justin, written by John W. McCrindle. In the page 327, that is Justin, on his writings, 15th book, chapter 4 of Justin's book, what he wrote, McCrindle wrote. For when by his insolent behavior, Sandrocotus has offended Nandrus and was ordered by the king to put to death, he sought safely by a speedy flight. Here it is Alexandrum, you see what Justin wrote, but how it was altered into Nandru, that is Nanda. Thus, Alexandrum was altered into Nanda, the previous king to Chandragupta Maurya, so that we can equate Sandrocotus with Chandragupta Maurya. Because we know Chandragupta Maurya and Nanda were contemporary, definitely, from many texts, even in Purana. So, if you alter Alexandrum into Nanda, then definitely Sandrocotus and Nanda become contemporary. So, Sandrocotus definitely means Chandragupta Maurya. That is the idea behind this alteration. So, why? Because they know it is a house of playing cards. Even a mild wind, trivial wind, will make it totally collapse within fraction of time, second. They know it, but only the Indians could not understand it and blindly accepted whatever Greek literature mentioned, because it is all, I explained last, due to Mechel education. On that page at the footnotes, what this McCrindle mentioned is, Nandram has been here substituted for common reading. Why? What meant common reading? I don't know. Nandru was altered into Alexandrum, which Goodsmith has shown to be an error. That is, Alexandrum must be an error, as per the opinion of Goodsmith. Who is Goodsmith? I will come later. And Dr. R.C. Majumdar in the classical accounts of India, in the page 193, he actually given this. And the footnote, what he mentioned, Nandrum has been here substituted for the common reading, Alexandrum, on the authority of Goodsmith. But R.C. Majumdar wrote that but the original reading is now looked upon as the correct one. That is, Alexandrum is the correct one. Because they want to make Sandrocotus and Nanda as contemporary. Because Sandrocotus and Alexandrum, we can say, we can even now accept contemporary. Because Sandrocotus may mean any king of India. It doesn't mean Chandragupta Maurya. So based on that, we cannot mention that Chandragupta Maurya period is 321 BC. Sandrocotus period may be 321 BC. That we can accept. So they want to show that Nanda, so that Chandragupta Maurya, so that Chandragupta Maurya and Alexander are contemporary, so that the period of Chandragupta Maurya is 321. Based on that thought, that idea only they altered. But in the Advanced History of India and Part 1, Ancient India, R.C. Majumdar wrote, the visit to the Macedonian king is referred to by Plutarch as well as Justin. But strange to say, some modern writers, that is modern writers, amend the text of Justin and propose to read Nandram, that is Nanda, in place of Alexandrum. Such conjectural emendations are hardly justified. As per the opinion of the great historian Dr. R.C. Majumdar, the ex-Vice Chancellor of Dhaka University and the authority on recent history of India, what it will lead? They misled the unwary, unsuspicious, ordinary, simple student of Mauryan antiquities. That is his strong condemn on this alteration of this Alexander into Nanda. It was done by A. von Goodsmith, whose period is 1835 to 1887. He is a German scholar. Purpose, I have already explained, to equate Sandrocotus as Chandragupta Maurya and to contemporariness to Alexander. To safeguard their conjecture, to make their conjecture as a strong. That is their opinion. Not only this, I can show many discrepancies, many alterations. Two things I will show. This is the name change of Aryabhatta. This is Panchasiddhantika book, edited by G. Dibot and Sudhagar Divivedi. I thank both and the publisher. In the preface, written in the year 1888 by G. Dibot. In this, you can see the right-hand column of the text give the amended text. That is, this is right-hand column. It is an amended text. On the left-hand column of the text of the better one of the two manuscripts. So the better one manuscript, which shows actually what the text meant or wrote is here, what amended, altered by Dibot and S. Divavadi was given here. You can see 16th line from top. You can see the name of the astronomer of our India, Aryabhatta. You see 2T is there here, 2T, Aryabhatta. What it is altered? Aryabhatta. You can verify. This book is available from Chaukamba Sanskrit office from Varanasi. You can buy it. You can yourself verify how they altered. What right they got to alter an ancient text, Panchasiddhantika, written some 1500, 2000 years before itself. They cannot have any right, authority to change, but they alter to suit their theory. That is the thing. And what is the recent attempts? With that, I will complete. That is Expedia, which I mean, you know, Expedia. Recently on its website on Mudra Rakshasa. If you type Mudra Rakshasa in Expedia, it will come. In the characters of the act on the right-hand side, within the box, it included Seleucus Nicator and Helena. Seleucus Nicator is the general of Alexander who ruled after Alexander, this Persian and other area. But if you go through Mudra Rakshasa, original Sanskrit play, there are not even a single Greek character name. Not only Seleucus Nicator or Helena, even no Greek name is there. You can verify Mudra Rakshasa of Visagadatta, commentary with Dundi Raja and M.R. Kale or B.S. Kale, Telang, or also this Vabesh Iyer, or even you can verify the European author, that is H.S. Wilson, in his Select Specimens of Theatre of Windows, where he given entire English translation of this Mudra Rakshasa, and in that character, H.S. Wilson didn't mention any name called Seleucus, Nicator, or Helena, or even through the entire play, there is no name of Seleucus, Nicator, or Helena, or any Greek name. But recently it was included. How? Why? Because nobody will go and read Mudra Rakshasa and verify facts. If 10,000 people go to Expedia, not even a single person will go and verify. So whatever we can write, we can write. We see it that strong lie in the minds of Indians. That is their motive. But if you go to Mudra Rakshasa, surprisingly, what the names of Hindu, Sindhu, Parasika, and Kashmira are found in Mudra Rakshasa. In first Anga, I will quote not all things. Hindu Sena of Sindhu Kingdom and King Megakya of Parasika Kingdom. In the fifth Anga, it is mentioned Meghanatha, King Sindhu Sena of Sindhu Kingdom. If it is during Alexander period, Sindhu was ruled by Porus, Purushottama. And Parasika, Seleucus Nicator, Greek only. But Mudra Rakshasa mentioned all Hindu name. Sindhu Sena, Indian name, Indian king. Meghanatha, F King Parasika. So definitely not Greek name or Purushottama name. So totally Mudra Rakshasa contradicts this conjecture of Chandragupta as Chandragupta Maurya, who is and making as a contemporary to Alexander. So it definitely proved that it is a false and entirely wrong conjecture of William Jones. So we can understand. Now, part 1, I have made how the worst cheat anchor in Indian history chronology was conjectured and forced to taught as history in India in many universities everywhere, and who all played the major roles. In part 2, I have explained the incredibility and falsehood of the accounts of India narrated by classical Greek literature, including Megasthenes. And this Megasthenes Indica is the sheet, they consider it is a sheet anchor. But I have shown it is sheet, not sheet anchor, it is a cheat anchor. So it is all based on shaky, weak, unjustifiable, false foundation. I have shown all details with concrete proofs. In the part 3, I will explain how this cheat anchor, that is equating Chandragupta Maurya, placing him wrongly at 321 BCE, had paved way further in fixing 1500 BCE as the date of incredible Aryan invasion, which was again conjectured to reduce the antiquity of India to carry out divide, rule, and loot policy of colonial rulers. In the next part, please allow me to talk on that. I am Dr. M.L. Raja. These are all my contact numbers and mail ID. And I wholeheartedly thank Aditya ji and volunteers of Sangam Talks, and also the eminent personalities, professors, and students of various universities of USA. I express my heartfelt Nandri, Dhanyavadaga, and thanks to one and all. Thank you. Aditya ji, please.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful presentation. And you mentioned Sangam Talks, it's Sattology.
Sorry.
But,
very sorry.
But I really appreciate Sangam Talks and other people who do that work. Thank you.
No, ji, I am very sorry.
All of us are doing the same thing. Now, one question comes, the one focus in Sattology is we are very much focused debunking mythology. And you put it so well, because using Megasthenes as a sheet anchor, and you put the right word, cheat anchor, it has actually destroyed the chronology of the Indian history or the Indian identity. So I want people to understand what happens when that happens. So when students come from India to USA, they see the entire Western civilization as awe, like the awe and reverence. Beautiful roads, wide roads. There's a very famous person who quoted it. In America, the roads are very beautiful, no doubt about it. And India is catching up. When I went to India this time, I was shocked. Beautiful roads now in India, as sometimes better than even USA now. And but all the roads in America lead nowhere because there is no Purushartha, there is no Dham, there are no places. In India, the roads may be bad, but they go to Vrindavan, I want to come to Ranganathan,
Great thing, Ji. Great thing.
Dwarka, so
Excellent point.
why to value, see, in our Shastra it is said, somebody else's wealth, somebody else's things are like dust for us. We have to only value what we have, and we can only talk about ourselves. That's why we don't talk against anyone else. But this history, so when a person comes from India to here, they get awed. Look at the Bollywood movies or Bollywood stars or Tollywood stars also. They all want to talk about Switzerland, Hungary, Austria. And believe me, those are, if you go there and live amongst them, most of the Indians feel uncomfortable in the culture. The culture is based on cow killing and all those things. So this identity crisis that Indians face because of Western propaganda or this kind of fake propaganda makes them like feel inferior in the first look. It takes them 10 years to come out of it, 10 years usually. Then they recognize, okay, they are better than the other people. So this is what the impact of this identity crisis. What do you want to say? And then we'll close up this show.
Actually, when I went first to Brindavan and Govardhan, the people and their dress may be ugly. The dhotis are not pure white, but their mind are pure white. So that mind we should see rather than the external appearance. We have to see the internal appearance. What you are told is correct. In India, the roads may be not correct, but the people are correct and the roads lead to correct place. That is an important thing. So our destiny should be correct, even though our pathway may be little bit bad.
One of the person
now the pathway also becoming correct for the within these 7 years, it become India become better than any other country in the world.
I think India has become truly independent today, at least from the leadership point of view.
Yes, you see, Republic Day started on January 23rd. Why it started, So we have to appreciate the who are all committed to develop this nation. We have to salute them. That is my opinion. We know who is doing all these things. I am really saluting him.
Yeah. No, we all know that. And I am a huge supporter of Modi ji and all the people who are responsible for it. Now, the one thing which comes to the one last point, I have to complete this point, is essential. You mentioned about the clothes, and I went to Vatican, and I've been there many times to discuss with cardinals and other people. Many times I met many big people. I could not find a single bit of spirituality in the whole place. The whole place was like, I go to Sri Rangam, I have been to Hampi. I could feel the spiritual vibrations.
Yes, that vibration.
And the vibration, you feel it. Any American goes to India and they go to Vrindavan, their hearts get completely changed, even though the place is unclean. But when you go to Vatican or any other places, your heart becomes, you're not impressed. I mean, buildings don't impress people. It's the culture which impresses people.
Yes.
But when these Americans come to India or Rishikesh, they want to just give up where they came from. They give up their citizenship of USA. They want to settle down in India. They don't want to come back. So that shows that where is the real thing, because human beings is things from the mind but sees from the eyes. Mind is more important right there. The feelings are there. So I'll stop here and we'll wait for the third show, and do watch it and comment it. Last video, you all loved it. This will blow your mind. I was listening to the whole presentation.
First, thank you, Ji Aditya Ji, and also thanks to the volunteers of Sattology. I thank once again to Aditya Ji and all persons who are working with Sattology. Thank you very much. Thank you. Namaskar.